within the margin of error. But dig into the details of this poll, because that's where it gets interesting in the undercard, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. A couple of interesting things here that go into this advantage for Harris in our poll. Number one is a gender gap, a massive gender gap. Here you see among men, Donald Trump leading 52-40. That's a 12-point lead for Trump there. Among women, look at the margin that Harris is racking up here, though, 58-37. She's ahead in our poll by 21 points among women. So 21-12. That's a gender gap there of 33 points. And again, that's like 10 points higher than what we saw in the 2020-2016 elections, which both featured, historically massive gender gaps. So this would be something.
Steve, can I stop you there? Because here's my rookie question. You'd think I'd never done politics before. When you have that big of a gap, don't women generally vote in larger numbers in presidential elections than men do? That would indicate to me almost a runaway race, which is not at all what we're seeing.
Well, I mean, you say higher. I mean, we're talking, very close to 50% on both. So not, it's not like 10 points out of whack one to the other. But, that's what you're seeing, a 5-point, go back to this. You could see it, trying to go back to that first screen and make this more dramatic. We'll do it this way. Go back to it. 5-point lead for Trump. That's what we're finding in our poll right here. So you find
for Harris?
For Harris, you do find a bigger margin for Harris among women than Trump has among men, and that nets out basically to a 5-point advantage for Harris in the national poll.
Got it.
And then if you take it a step further here, just look at a couple other groups here. Among white voters, Trump with that 9-point advantage. But I think what jumps out here is among black voters, 85-7 for Kamala Harris. Now, that's kind of standard, historically speaking. That's the margin Democrats typically get among black voters. But that is a big change from where this race was when Joe Biden was the Democratic candidate. When Biden was the Democratic candidate, one of the big stories was that his support from black voters typically was falling somewhere in the 60s, well short of what Democrats typically get. Trump, in the number of polls among black voters, had been, and there are still other polls out there that do show this, had been in the mid-teens somewhere, which for a Republican would be a historically pretty high share of the black vote. So what Democrats are seeing in this poll for Harris, among what is one of their typically core constituency groups, black voters, a result that's much more in line with what they have depended on in the past and what they were worried about when Joe Biden was the candidate. And then you just look at this and you say, is there any positive news here from a Trump standpoint? Democrats certainly love where the race is going in the national race we just showed you there. If you're a Trump partisan, you might look at this. These two issues here, the border and immigration, and then the economy and inflation. More than 4 in 10 voters say the economy or inflation is their top concern. Trump with a 9-point advantage over Harris on who would do better on that. And again, on the border and immigration, 21-point edge for Trump over Harris there. These two issues, a majority of the electorate is citing, inflation, economy, or the border as their top issue, and Trump with advantages on both of those. So that certainly keeps him in the game.
Steve Kornacki, it is always great to see you at the big board. Thank you so much. So, Adam, these brand new battleground polls, meantime, from Siena and the New York Times, are where this race will be decided, right? 3, at least, of the key battlegrounds. Arizona, Harris had a 5-point lead in the same poll before the debate. Now she's behind by 5. That's a 10-point swing. In Georgia, Trump's 4-point lead has not changed.
I can't believe we're having this conversation again. So here we go. You know who the candidates are. You know what's at stake. One candidate promises a divided America filled with lies and hate. And one stands for change. Kamala Harris has more courage, more honor, more guts than this guy ever had. So you decide. Are we really going back down that same fucking broken road, or are we moving forward towards hope, towards freedom, towards change?
We know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
There's promise that lies in change, and the time for change is now. So what the hell are you waiting for? Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
I learned something over the weekend, and maybe I shouldn't learn this before, but I was randomly talking to somebody just in the park. My son was playing with their son, and they were explaining to me that a lot of people really do believe everything they see on Fox News. Here's me thinking, well, surely you don't believe that nonsense. Surely you can tell it's a pile of the stuff that comes out of the backside of a dog or a pigeon.
What's the most important issue for you as a Pennsylvania voter?
The illegal immigration into this country.
How is it hurting you and folks you know?
It's not. It's just the principle of the fact that everybody comes in here and gets free stuff and taking stuff away from hardworking Americans, and we got to put America first again.
Absolutely. We've heard that all around the country. Thank you very much. John, heard it in Ohio.
This is very simple and very straight. If anyone says to you, well, what's going on with the election? It's a fact. Kamala Harris is leading by unbelievable numbers. Now, that isn't just me repeating what you may see on the likes of MSNBC, etc., CNN. This is now everywhere. I mean, everywhere. That is the quote they are said. If you don't believe me, have a look at when Peter Navarro is giving this information. I repeat, the polls are coming through. Doesn't matter how they try and spin them. Fox News love to try and spin and find something. The negativity is there for the Trump campaign. The positivity, the momentum, the game-changing numbers are with the Kamala Harris campaign.
Richard, give us a quick summary of the other polls and then tell us what you were seeing, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, just that underdog status, the entire world is against Donald Trump, Peter. I mean, the idea that she is the underdog is ridiculous. Everyone from Fox News, the people who run Fox News, to the people who run MSNBC want Harris to win and even put their name to an endorsement for her in Fortune 100 companies. I mean, that's insane. Yes. But I would say this. I think they do. I don't think. I know they do. See something that the public polls are not showing, or at least not all of the public polls. And that is what's going on in the polling universe right now. We have no consensus, and we have two schools. And in the, on the one side, you have the one school that is showing Harris leading, but leading by unbelievable numbers, Peter. That's the fact. I mean, Morning Consult is in that, ABC, NBC, to some extent. And then you have just some other state polls that are your usual suspects. You have Quinnipiac, the usual suspects. And they're showing a race that is her edge, and then really an edge that is never going to materialize. It's unbelievable. And then you have the other school, which shows that it's either tied or Trump with an edge that is a believable edge. And when you look at the track records of the pollsters in those two courts, right, in those two camps, really, the ones who are showing the tighter race with Trump with an advantage have better track records. And then secondly, with that, Kamala Harris's own polling does not look rosy for her. This is an open secret. I don't know why the media goes day in and day out pretending as if YouGov is correct and she's leading by 6 points and, a 5-point lead in Pennsylvania. That is insane. That is not going to happen.
We used to do this thing a while back called the three-legged race. Okay, where you'd have two of you and you'd have one leg joined together and it was like 3 legs. Imagine having to do that with J.D. Vance. But you've got to carry him. And you're former guy. You're the former losing president of the United States of America, because October the 1st is basically make or break. Literally, the Trump campaign is relying, this is crazy, by the way, on, J.D. Vance to put in some type of performance, turn up, against him whilst they're having a vice presidential debate on October the 1st that CBS are hosting. And, that's his last chance. That is Trump's last opportunity to try and register something, because at the moment, he is getting trashed, thrashed, slaughtered, whipped. What word would... Give us another word, comment section, to describe the fact that Trump is having a disaster. Literally. But apparently October the 1st, I'm trying to be serious here. I'm an outsider looking in, but everything I've seen about J.D. Vance wouldn't exactly instill me with confidence that if I was down to my last dollar, I would stick it on J.D. Vance, and he would come home in a three-legged race with former guy. Yeah. My money is definitely on Kamala and Tim in a three-legged race. I'm being totally serious. I mean, J.D. Vance, where would you put your last dollar?